I refuse to call myself a Marxist because Marx's economic theories are unscientific. Marxist economics have been considered discredited since the 19th century. I wrote this article to explain why. For an economy to function, there must be a common standard we use to make different goods and services commensurable, which means measurable by the same standard. If I am considering trading with somebody, I need a standard by which I measure the value of the goods I can trade in comparison to the goods they can trade. Otherwise, there is no way for the parties in the potential trade to determine if the potential trade is worthwhile or not. Mainstream economists know that our subjective preferences provide the common standard by which different goods and services become commensurable. Economists call this well-established theory the subjective theory of value, or STV. According to the STV, a value's commodity is subjectively determined by the individuals or entities buying or selling the commodity. If a seller is willing to sell commodity X at a specific price and a buyer is willing to buy commodity X at the same price, then the commodity is worth that price to the parties involved in the trade. Trade happens when buyers and sellers subjectively agree on a price for a given amount of a commodity. The buyer subjectively thinks commodity X is worth more than the price, and the seller subjectively thinks the price is worth more than commodity X. The beauty of trade is that it's generally mutually beneficial to all parties involved. Marxists believe in an incorrect and obscure economic theory called the labor theory of value, or LTV. According to the LTV, a commodity's value, something that is bought and sold for a price, is determined by the socially necessary labor time to produce it. Marx defines socially necessary labor time as the average amount of time workers take to produce a commodity. For example, if on average it takes workers 1 hour to build commodity X, then commodity X requires 1 hour of socially necessary labor. The LTV is the central tenet of Marxist economics. Marx uses the LTV to argue capitalism exploits workers. Marx says that capitalism exploits workers because capitalism does not pay them the same amount of labor time they put in. For example, a worker who works 40 hours is not necessarily paid enough to buy commodities that took 40 hours to make. Marx calls this difference surplus value and suggests the capital class steals the worker's labor to create surplus value and keeps it for itself. The STV is superior to the LTV. Let's say a doctor works for an hour and a cashier works for an hour. According to the LTV, the doctor who works for an hour and the cashier who works for an hour deserve the same compensation. No economy could function on the basis of the LTV. To become a doctor requires significantly more training, effort, and resources than to become a cashier. We can also disprove the LTV by looking at the prices of commodities like artworks. According to the LTV, the price of a commodity depends on the amount of labor workers put into it. Consider an artwork like Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. We know it took Van Gogh 10 years of hard work to paint Starry Night. Since the day Van Gogh finished Starry Night, its price has increased while the amount of labor time remains the same. This disproves the LTV. A society where resources are allocated based on the LTV is not sustainable. People will not have enough incentive to perform highly specialized tasks and would therefore refuse to work for the compensation offered by the LTV. That's why societies based on the STV are the happiest, most wealthy countries in the world. A truly scientific thinker will reject the LTV in favor of the LTV. That's why I'm not a Marxist. If you liked this video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.